Dante Alighieri was a politician from Florence who was caught in a great political divide in medieval Italy. Speaking out against the Pope would get him into so much trouble that he was sentenced to death. Dante chose to flee from Florence and spent a lot of time trying to mount an opposition against the leading parties there. However, his plans never materialized in the way he had hoped. Forced away from the city he loved, Dante had no choice but to bury himself in books. While in exile, he wrote the monumental work, The Divine Comedy. Inferno is the first out of 3 parts. The poem is a showcase for Dante's political, philosophical, and theological themes. His moral and ethical vision shines throughout the work. In the beginning of the poem, Dante suddenly finds himself being lost in a dark forest. While looking for his way out of the forest, he stumbles upon 3 beasts, a lion, a wolf, and a leopard. When running away from the beasts, he finds the ghost of Virgil, the Roman poet. He had been sent by 3 holy women. They had seen him lose his way in forest, then sent Virgil to rescue him. Virgil says he will lead Dante to heaven, but first they must travel through hell to get there. From outside, Dante can hear horrible dialects, accents of anger, words of agony, and voices high and hoarse. Before entering hell itself, they encounter people who have never chosen a side, who have received neither infamy nor praise. They were never rebellious nor faithful. They received no glory from either heaven or from hell. They were stuck in between. To get to the other side of the river, a demon transports them over the water to hell. He beats everyone who lags behind with his oar. Virgil explains to Dante, "All those who perish in the wrath of God here meet together out of every land. And ready are they to pass over the river, because celestial justice spurs them on, so that their fear is turned into desire." Virgil and Dante come to the point where no good souls will pass. On the gates to hell it is written, "Abandon all hope, you who enter here." Suddenly, an earthquake erupts, and a strong wind hits Dante so hard that he faints before he wakes up in hell. "A heavy thunderclap broke the deep sleep within my head, so that I roused myself, as would a person who is waked by force, and standing up erect, my rested eyes I moved around, and with a steady gaze I looked about to know where I might be." He describes the place as both obscure and profound, and is afraid to walk any further. But Virgil eggs him on. "Let us descend into the blind world," he says. In Dante's Inferno, hell is divided into 9 circles. In the first circles, you will find people who have committed relatively mild sins, such as paganism, lustfulness, gluttony, and so on. The deeper down you go, the more severe are the sins. Each circle also has a monster who is in charge, which is a visual reminder to the reader of the horrors you will find there. Dante's description of hell is much more detailed than what you find in older texts. This is something Dante has in common with John Milton, that their texts have shaped the modern idea of hell more than the Bible itself, but they have often been misunderstood as literal descriptions of it. Of course, the more sensible interpretation is that Dante used poetic imagery to try to give an account of how destructive moral behavior would manifest itself onto the human experience. However, this poetic vision can still be seen as complementary to the theological discourse, rather than a popularized representation, which is separated from Christian belief. Dante tried to categorize sin into different layers, and to give an approximate account based on theology from his time and from the early church fathers. Dante would also let his own personal, subjective experience play a part in deciding which sins and which persons should be graver than others. Moreover, Dante's journey through hell can be thought of as a pilgrimage, where Dante contemplates how the life of others have led to miserable conclusions, to make it easier for himself to choose what's right in his own life, which is something he would recommend others to do in their own way. In all 9 circles of hell, Dante sees people he knows, or people from myth, history, or literature, who have sinned in various ways. The further down he goes, the darker are the sins. In the last circle, he finds the three-headed giant Lucifer, who is still stuck at the center of the earth, where he landed after God threw him down from heaven. Lucifer personifies the betrayal and corruption which is at the heart of hell's society. Dante continues through Lethe, the river of forgetfulness, and will later go on a similar journey through purgatory and heaven in the last two parts of the Divine Comedy. Some have said that Dante's Inferno is one of the first examples of realism in modern fiction, as Dante brings so many examples from his own life. Aside from all the people who Dante surrounded himself with in his personal life, the city of Dis in the poem, which is the great city of hell, is Dante's description of Florence under the wrong rulers. He explains how one of the greatest cities on the planet can literally turn into hell if the wrong people are in charge. Dante believed that the Pope and his followers were mainly interested in more power and money, whereas the good politician should be more concerned with a focus towards God. The people in hell are often people whom Dante met in his own life, who lusts for earthly pleasure, power and greed. Free will is given to mankind at their discretion, but Dante saw many who abused it in a way which made them prisoners of their own choices. Hell is therefore a society which has erupted into chaos. The redemption for Dante is similar to his own political opinions, that good citizenship is key to a good society. It was Dante's dream that the whole world would be united under a wise and just monarch. Dante did find redemption from his exile after the poem was published, as people in northern Italy welcomed him into their homes. There were also many commentaries of his work even during Dante's own time. In fact, he was the first modern writer whose work was taught as a classic at university while he was still alive. Ever since, his work has been taught throughout the Western world for hundreds of years, giving him many famous admirers, such as William Shakespeare and William Butler Yeats.